Hi guys, my name is Nonima Tikela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So I want us to dissect Mrs. submissions when that whole situation of the affidavit and the Section 205 of Mabungu was going on there. Let's start from the beginning because Mrs. said quite a mouthful. Okay, now that was a very good, not just good actually. It was one of the greatest defense submission that was done by the defense, all of them, that day. That was Friday, right? Now, advocate identified a genuine procedural problem, and more importantly, he forced the state to confront the consequences of its own proposed solution. Now, the state appears to want to use evidence that was not properly led during its case to cross-examine a defense witness, which is accused number 3, during the defense case. Now, that is where things got very ugly, Kesana. Firstly, the state's proposal sounds reasonable. That's what Mrs. says, until you interrogate the entire proposal. The state's pitch is essentially this. They are pitching to the defense. This is like some horror movie, I don't know, like Umaloyi, the liver that he has is a pharaoh. He will stop when the Red Sea breaks apart. When it goes apart, that's when Baloyi would stop. Otherwise, he's not going to stop at anything, okay? Now, he says, we will give you everything. The cell phone records, affidavits, investigating officers, affidavit, service provider material. You can examine it. Then we'll cross-examine Mncube. That is the state's proposal. Hear me out. At first hearing, that sounds extremely fair, right? The state can say, we are not hiding anything. We are disclosing everything. What is the prejudice? So that's what the state is actually saying in a nutshell, Kesana. That is a very clever position for them there. But the defense exposes the weaknesses. Disclosure is not the same thing as evidence, okay? Giving the defense an affidavit does not necessarily establish the truth of everything contained in it. And giving the defense cell phone records doesn't automatically establish who generated them, how they were generated, whether they are complete, how the technical information should be interpreted, whether the records are authentic, what foundation exists for their admission, or whether the maker must testify. That's the distinction Mnisi correctly seized right there. That's what Mnisi dealt with. Secondly, the state is trying to make Mncube carry the evidential burden all of a sudden now. This is the most dangerous aspect of the state's proposal. Think about the sequence. The state wants state's cell phone material, then Mncube, then cross-examination. That's what they are doing, okay? But the defense says, no. First, establish what is material and what this material actually is. Call its makers. Allow us to challenge them. Then confront Mncube. That's what the defense says. That's a fundamentally different sequence. And the defense's question is devastating. How can I cross-examine the maker if you never call the maker? That's the elephant in the room, Kengu. Mnisi is not playing with the state. Thirdly, the affidavit issue is potentially a landmine. The defense specifically identifies the investigating officer's affidavit, the border poll affidavit, the cell phone provider affidavit, the actual cell phone activity records. Now ask this, who is going to testify to these documents? If the state says the affidavit speaks for itself, the defense then asks, where was it agreed that this evidence would be introduced by affidavit? That is why Mnisi brings out that the pre-trial conference becomes very important. The defense says there were no agreements that these witnesses will be replaced by affidavits. If that's factually correct, okay, the state can't simply assume that an affidavit becomes a substitute for live testimony. Umnisi uthi unoche asoze lisenzele loo nto. Now, the state's biggest vulnerability, it closed its case long time ago. This is the part I would put in a flashing light and the defense, because the state closed its case. That is a technicality. The state had its opportunity to present its evidence. If the cell phone movement of Mabungu's phone is now important to proving its case against Mncube, the obvious question becomes, why wasn't this evidence properly presented before the state closed, which is more or less what Mshololo asked during her arguments. The defense isn't complaining about evidence that was properly introduced and merely needs clarification. It's arguing that the state is attempting to introduce the missing evidential foundation after the state has already closed its case. That is a much more serious procedural problem. That is why this is a procedural conundrum. Now, Umnisi also mentions Mohapi argument is one of the strongest parts. He mentions how the state is interpreting the Mohapi authority. The advocate was very smart to attack the state's reliance on Mohapi. He essentially said, don't tell us Mohapi allows this without first showing that the circumstances are comparable. According to the defense distinction, in Mohapi, the cell phone records were already part of the state's evidential presentation. The missing element was the appropriate technical witness. Here, the state allegedly closed its case without properly leading the relevant evidence. Now that distinction matters. The state cannot simply transform Mohapi into cell phone evidence. It can always be fixed after the state closed its case. The question is not merely, can defective evidence sometimes be cured? The question is, can this particular defect be cured at this particular procedural stage, in this particular manner, without prejudicing the accused? That's a much harder question. And that is where Omnisi are putting their foot down. Point number 6, then comes the Mncube nightmare. This was probably the best practical point made by Umnisi at this point. Imagine the state proposed procedure. Step 1, Mncube testified. Step 2, state cross-examined Mncube using cell phone information. Step 3, defense says, hold on, we haven't cross-examined the people who generated or authenticated this information. Step 4, the state says, fine, we will reopen our case. Step 5, state calls the relevant witnesses. Step 6, defense cross-examines those witnesses. Step 7, the defense discovers something significant from those witnesses. Step 8, who gets to question Mncube about what that new evidence now? That is what Umnisi in those steps did, showed the court. We could look at that. Do they bring them back? That's precisely the procedural monster the advocate identified. So now, Mncube already did the cross-examination and is done with everything. Now, after we speak to these ones, that they come, let's say they come, the people that did the cross-examination, the so-called, that dealt with the Section 205 of Mabungo, are we going to call back Mr. Mncube to the stand? Again, he says he has never seen such. Uthi Mncube, uthi Umnisi, he has never heard of no procedure. He has never heard of a procedure where an accused person reascends the box twice. That is, yeah, very rhetorical, but at the same time, it is very powerful because, my goodness. Umnisi is asking, what is the procedural mechanism here? what is going on here. So, and yes, guys, but that is exactly what is happening. Now, one of the few things that the defense should also separate three questions. They must have three separate, they are really three separate battles. Battle one, disclosure. Does the defense get the records and affidavits? Probably Ubaloyi can give them, assuming proper disclosure obligations apply. But the question is, why didn't they get all of this when they were doing it before a pre-trial or whatever? Battle number two, admissibility of foundation. Can the state actually rely on those records to prove that it says they prove whatever they say it's going to prove? That requires the appropriate evidential foundation. Battle number three, timing and procedure. Even if the evidence is potentially admissible, can the state introduce or establish it now? After closing its case during the defense case? Those are three different questions, and the defense is strongest when it refuses to let the state collapse them into one, which is very unfair. Very unfair, very, very unfair. So I don't know ukuthi uJudge Rath uzayithini lento. I don't know ukuthi uJudge Rath uzawusebenza ngayo ayithini lento, because sana this is becoming all the damn time. It's becoming like shocking every day in the case law when it comes to the Senzo Meyiwa case. So now the court wants the truth, ne? Judge Ratamna, I feel like who's out. The court wants the truth. If the cell phone records genuinely establish where the phone was, the court doesn't necessarily want to ignore potential important evidence because of procedural inconvenience. I foresee Judge Rata going that side. And secondly, principle B, when it comes to that, the accused is entitled to a fair trial. The state cannot simply close its case and then continuously repair the deficiencies while the defense is presenting its evidence. The judge, therefore, has to ask, is admitting or facilitating this evidence now necessarily for the truth-finding process? And if so, can it be done without unfairly disrupting the defense case? That's the real battle that Judge Rata needs to deal with. Now, the defense is winning the conceptual argument here. They expose something the state proposal, something in the state's proposal that initially hides the state's problem isn't disclosure. The state's problem is proof and procedure. That's the very important. That's a very important distinction. The state effectively says, "We'll give you the material." The defense responds, "Fine, but who's going to prove it?" The state says, "We'll cross-examine Mncube with it." The defense responds, "Mncube didn't create it, authenticate it, interpret it, or swear to it. Why is he being used to establish your evidence?" So those are some of the issues that are problematic in this situation. We are just wondering, what is Judge Rata going to do when it comes to this? That's the conundrum that he is dealing with. What are your thoughts when it comes to this? I'll see you on our next video. Bye-bye.